Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. Do you notice that gender equity is something we are better at talking about than doing?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
Why spend hours on your schedules only to find mistakes and missed activities for your campers? Let Camptivities do the heavy lifting and help you create the best schedules yet, without the mistakes and in less time. Come check out Camptivities, specifically designed for camps by camp people. Find out more at camptivities.com.
Remember what sparked your passion for camp? Ultra Camp knows it's about the people, not the paperwork. That's why they built a platform to simplify your camp management. Learn more at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. Hey, Camp Mavericks. Welcome to the CampHacker podcast, brought to you by the Staff Recruiting and Retention email course from Matt and Beth and me. I'm Travis Allison. I simplify technology for camp professionals. I reduce director overwhelm. I improve parent communications, and I automate your administrative tasks so that you can focus on noticing and appreciating the kids at your camp.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm a camp consultant and all-around great guy, and I consult on leadership and diversity, equity, inclusion, and just a ton of things. Just a ton of things. Great to be here.
You are an all-around great guy.
I know.
And yes, you are. And my name is Gabrielle Raill. I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Waro. My pronouns are she, her, elle, if you speak French. And I work on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
Wonderful to have your voice and your face, Gab. I'm grateful to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, right on. So we have an interesting topic today that Chris is going to get us started on.
Yeah, so this is just something I've been thinking about over the summer. And then I was like, okay, people might be experiencing this, and I just want to name it. So the one thing I've noticed in working in camps for 3 decades as a man is the red carpet gets rolled out whenever a camp is looking for staff for men. There's always a shortage of men and male-identified people working at camps, for whatever the reasons are. We don't need to talk about all those reasons right here, but everyone is seeking male staff. And I think, or what I've observed over time, is that as we look for gender parity at our camps, I just wonder if we're sacrificing gender equity, because the dark side of this sort of scramble for men is that I fear and I sense that at some places the bar gets moved as far as what behavior is tolerable from the men's staff versus the women's staff, because the men's staff were just so excited that they're here. We're so excited that they applied. I've observed things at certain camps which lead me to believe that the bars have been moved, which then, being the educator that I am, I'm very worried about the lessons that we are imparting to the kids about gender equity. I have been to spaces where the women on staff find it more difficult to corral the kids, and they have to go to their man counterparts to rally the kids or whatnot. And yeah, I just wanted to have that discussion here, because I don't think I listen, again, I don't want to get into why a lot of men don't apply for camps, but I feel like that is going to continue.
It's the patriarchy that we got into it.
And I want to be thoughtful and proactive and intentional about thinking about if that's affecting our programming and our administrations. So
yeah. So one of my main principles, and this is kind of a foundation principle of how I think about leadership in general, but camp in specific, is that good leaders understand that at every moment they are always teaching. And so there is a lesson being taught at a camp that, whether or not they intend it, the lesson is somehow enforcing these gender norms at these camps. I have lots of thoughts, but Tab, what do you think to get us started?
What I was thinking about was, wait till your father comes home. We'll see what he has to say. And I think that I think there's generational biases that have been imprinted onto how we see different roles at home. And of course, those transcend into also schools and then, of course, camps. So, meaning, I think as a society, we do put more authority into male voices than we necessarily do into women's voices. And I think that it's just important to acknowledge that. And it's important to look at how we're training our staff or how we're approaching our staff and informing our staff when they're at camp on how we want to lead and how we can support each other. I can say that in my uniqueness of where I work, it is an all-girls camp. We do have trans boys at our camp and non-binary staff members at our camp, but we do have almost like a little bit of an oasis bubble where primarily it's all women or people that have been socialized as women. And so the gender norms are less evident. That being said, when with the Women in Camp Summit, and I bring my staff to the Women in Camp Summit, the conversation that we have in the car afterwards from Chicago all the way back to Montreal, typically the first 2 to 3 hours is to say, wow, I didn't realize how much this equity, gender equity, happens in other organizations. And so we've things such as when the board comes to visit the camp, and there's 2 co-directors. The male co-director will bring the board around in a visit, and the female counterpart will take care of the kids, the board members' kids. This is just like one of many stories that we have heard. And only when we had the Women in Camp Summit space, a lot of these women didn't realize the disparities. It was only when they heard other women talking, they said, oh my goodness, this happened to me, this happened to me. And I think it's important to understand that equity disparities isn't something that's necessarily done on purpose. It's an implicit norm that's been placed upon us, and it's important for us to acknowledge that it's present, see where it happens within our own camps. Where I will say it has happened within our camp is that we had a male chef and we have one other male staff member that works on camp. And if they're upset or frustrated about something, everything stops. And we all tend to that sort of anxiety. Whereas if I have something that I'm upset about, or Jackie did, we just go about our day, and we would find the appropriate time to figure out when to talk about things, which I only realized, honestly, with the Women in Camp Summit. I was like, we are altering sometimes around these 2 people, and we've talked about it, but it's an implicit norm. So sometimes we're invisible. It's invisible to us sometimes.
I want to say it really resonated with what you said. Camp Highlight had 2 directors. It was me and Jackie. And I'll never forget this. She'll never forget this. So when we were starting the camp, we were going around and we were talking to local politicians. We were talking to anyone we could about Camp Highlight. So we talked to our city council person, my city council person here in New York. And we met with him. There was a photographer. He took pictures. We ended up in the paper. And what did the pit say? What did the blurb say in the paper? Chris Hudson, director of Camp Highlight, and his assistant. We were both presented. We were both presented as the director of this thing. But in the shorthand of whoever looked it over, it was like, oh, that must be the assistant. And that, like you said, Gabz, it happens so casually and so easily that I can fully see that if we're not tackling that at camp, it just sort of bleeds in. And like you said, Travis, at the end of the day, we're teaching. I mean, I don't want to get into my whole thing, but like, camp wasn't always like that. Like, we didn't always think about it as like a third space to educate in the way that it is today. That's really new. But now that we are here, it's like, it's those things that I just wonder, how do we call that out? Like, what do we have to prepare for? What do we talk to our staff about? Like, everyone's doing a diversity training. I know, because I'm doing everyone's diversity trainings, but like very often we're talking about race because that's hot button, but the gender thing has been around forever. And I think that I think a lot of people feel that it's done and we don't need to think about it. And I'm advocating for quite the opposite, like a full court press on this topic. I don't think that'd be received very well. But what do you all think?
Well, I think what I found interesting in what you were talking about was there is a need for a lot of camps to hire male staff members, and for good reason. We do want those role models for everybody at our camp. And I think what you were saying was sometimes maybe we're rolling out the red carpet for them, and we're not maybe paying attention on how we're welcoming our young men into our camps. and how that might be perceived through everybody else within the camp. So I think there's even how you're saying, how do we approach people that are coming to our camps, that are applying to our camps? What is the equity disparity there when we're looking at it? And I thought that was such an interesting way. How do we shift a little bit our approach when it comes to hiring staff members?
I do think that camp has been a place of learning for a long time. I think camp has been better than the rest of society at dealing with issues, if not good at dealing with issues. Okay, Chris making a face. That's fine.
I'm
That's
sorry. No, finish what you're saying. I'm just going to suffer through that.
It's a fair face, and I'm
I,
coming from this with all the privilege. So I wonder. See, I acknowledge this, and I think it's very valid, and it's why Chris and I said definitely want to do this. Is an important topic. I I don't know that it is about needing more men, and so that's why we treat them like princes at camp. I think it's society that treats men like princes, and so that just carries through. And like a lot of things at camp, it's just amplified by the tight community and the close quarters and the intenseness of it. I mean, I shared leadership in my job as a camp director for almost 15 years, and be interesting to hear Beth's perspective on it. I think we did it a lot better than a lot of others that we had seen, and especially since we were in working for the church. As soon as you get into couples doing stuff, they just run into like an old-fashioned minister or pastor, and of course his spouse, not her, minister, pastor, and her spouse, and the weird rules that come with that. So we caught a lot of that and called a lot of that out.
I want to say, has camp always been a place of learning? Yes, but I mean, I feel in my research and experience, camp used to be a place of indoctrination, right?
Okay,
It was
that's
it was
fair.
very heavy on supporting the status quo. It was very heavy and invested in teaching young white men what it meant to be a young white man. I mean, camps weren't even for girls when camp came up, and then it wasn't even for people of color until it was. And it just we can't accept that it was the way that we think about places of learning today just doesn't mesh with the past. So I think this is now camp is a place of experiential learning and sort of like societal flexibility, like teaching the kids how to be flexible in the face of information that might be new to them or their family, as opposed to just shutting things down altogether, right? So there's that too. Yes, men are treating like princes all the time. I mean, I'm always fascinated by, and I'll never understand how like straight white men just walk into a room like they built it. Like everyone, they're so comfortable. I love that for them. There's that. Plus, there is a hiring disparity. There always has been. Like more women apply to work at camps than men, or more women get hired. I'm not sure exactly. I know why. There's a couple of reasons why, but again, I don't want to spin that out because that's a whole hour.
Sure.
But I think it's those two things together. It's definitely the society, but also it's the, let's say, perceived scarcity of like male identifying people at camp. So I just want to put these things in their proper place, because I think to attack it, we have to be really clear about where we're starting. And that's where we're starting. Camp is, I always say, I'm trying to drag the camp industry kicking and screaming to the 20th century. We're almost there, almost there. And then we'll work on the next part. But I want to be really intentional about how to approach this. Maybe it starts from the hiring. I don't know. Or maybe it starts from the recruiting.
Yeah.
Well, it starts with your mission. It starts with like what we're trying to do, and of course, yes, it starts with our our hiring, and I think some camps are trapped with boards that don't support them in like having these types of conversations. There's all of these like real realities that are sometimes difficult, but I think that there's also the building on what we're already doing well. And I remember, again, with the Women in Camp Summit, somebody like, of course, what's needed when you have people that come up to you and say, this is not needed anymore, everything's fine, when they're not somebody that has been socialized as a woman or was assigned female at birth, that comes to you and say, society's fine now, why are you making a fuss? And it's like, that's amazing that that's the opinion you have, and you're not a woman. But I will say that those conversations, they said, why don't we just have a men in camp summit? And I was like, that would be amazing, I think, because you can talk about toxic masculinity. I think you can talk about the pressures of having to know all the answers and loneliness. I think that there's these important conversations that need to be had. And because camps can represent a mini society, we can be very transparent with our staff members when we hire them that camp is not something that is separate from what society. There's no like filtration system when you come in where racism and sexism doesn't exist. We're bringing that in, but because we're acknowledging it, these are the things that we want to provide opportunities for our staff members to do, to try to make mistakes at, and to role model to our campers. For example, sometimes, typically speaking, in a lot of camps, the person that plays like the clown on stage is not a lot of the times women. A lot of times it's men that can play like sort of the goofball.
Yes.
And we sort of think of things that are much more stereotypically like obvious, but there's little moments. And because why is that? That's society. Girls are not allowed to do that in school, blah, blah, blah. Like you said, Chris, we don't want to get into all of that, the reasoning behind it. But when we invite our staff in on the mission, that we have an opportunity to role model a different way of doing things, experiencing things, addressing things. Little guys need to see bigger guys be vulnerable, not know the answers, ask for help. This is a very important lesson. And it's important for little gals to see bigger guys do that too, but to also set very clear, healthy boundaries and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But bringing your staff in on the mission, saying we're going to do it together, creates automatically, in my opinion, a safer space for your staff members to do so. And being transparent. Like, we don't have as many men that come to camp because taking care of kids is not seen as something that's valued within the male community.
Yep.
But we do value it, but it does not mean that you're more valuable. It's okay to say that. Do you know what I mean? I think you can bring people in. I think we don't have to we don't have to change it all at once, but I think we can bring our staff in and be transparent with them about it.
I love that. Write that down. This is being recorded.
We're
It's fine.
recording it.
Yes.
Even better. Record that, Steph, will you? Exclusive to CampHacker listeners. Generate fresh ideas for activities, staff training, marketing campaigns, and more with UltraCamp's plug-and-play AI prompt guide. Download it for free at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker. You need tools that work as hard as you do. UltraCamp's platform is packed with powerful features, keeping your camp running smoothly and efficiently so you can focus on what truly matters. With UltraCamp's powerful tools, you're in control. Automate tasks like registration and billing, easily manage authorized pickups, create custom payment plans for your camp, generate reports to get key insights, and streamline hiring with built-in background checks. Get back to what you love. UltraCamp helps you spend less time on admin tasks and more time creating unforgettable camp experiences. Ready to see if UltraCamp is the perfect fit? Schedule your free personalized demo at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker.
Every year, it's the same thing. Lots of hours spent working on the daily schedules, only for there to be mistakes, missed activities, and lots of stress. Why is it so difficult? There's got to be a better way. And there is. Camptivities, an activity scheduler made specifically for camps. Group scheduling or camper scheduling, we've got you covered. Different day schedules, no problem. Auto scheduling, elective scheduling, batch scheduling. Schedule the way that works for your camp. With over 60 reports, you'll be able to see the data easily. When a parent calls and says, my camper didn't get an activity week 1, pull up the group activity tracker and see exactly when that activity was scheduled all summer long. Modernize the way you do activity scheduling. Make it easier to collaborate with team members. Get rid of the mistakes and make sure your campers are getting to all of your activities. We'd love to show you the next big thing in camp. Don't wait until the new year. Now's the time to find a better way to schedule and save 15% for the first year. Let us help you get away from your desk and back out in camp. Visit camptivities.com to set up a time to chat. I love all of that. And I love it. I love the idea of seeking gender equity to be mission driven.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Like, and I think this is the challenge of a lot of camps in the last 15 years is like understanding like this new role for, not new, but this expanded role for camps to offer this kind of education as it were. And it's the kind of thing where you have to be really goal directed about it. At this one camp that this issue came up, the line staff brought it up to me and in a training, and they were like, oh yeah, this is really bad. This is really bad. And I said to the men on the staff, I said, okay, so when the children aren't listening to the women and they come get you, what do you do? Like stares. I'm like, well, what do you do? Like, you're telling me that it's not fair. You're telling me it's not good, but what are you doing? And they're like, well, I tell them to be quiet or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And here we perpetuate the problem. And I think part of that, I think that has to be part of the training, and it's derived from the mission, right? Like, what are we doing here? How do we want people to be treated, etc. This is so complicated. Now that we're actually talking about it, it's like a really complicated space because there's nothing to dictate, right? We can't really dictate behavior. I don't like the term gender roles because that establishes that there are different buckets and the buckets are discrete and that things don't move between buckets. That's silly. But I'm just wondering how you would attack this. No, I know how you'd attack it. I just wonder if people have the stomach for it. I guess that's all. I think.
What do you mean that people have the stomach? Like camp directors, the staff? Like what's the?
I think camp directors. I think everybody colludes. I mean, this is true about all the isms in our society. We all collude because it's really difficult to sort of reverse things, right? So, and I know this because this is the work that I do, right? I show up on camps, people reach out to me. I either go there or have a call with them. I tell them exactly what it means to seek diversity, equity, inclusion. And 50% of them don't call me back because they don't have the stomach for it. It doesn't mean they're bad people. I really don't judge people around their businesses. It just means that it is so much work to do that people are like, you know what? Like camp's been running for 100 years. It will be fine. Just camp is different now. And I think it's taking some people longer to catch up to the idea that camp is different than it was even 20 years ago. Even when I was young, camp was a whole entirely different institution with entirely different goals in our society. And I think some people just aren't there and they don't have the stomach to instruct their staff to confront children when they're not listening to women on staff. I think that would require a constant kind of vigilance. And I can already tell, I already know what people are going to hear. Oh, well, we have to worry about the waterfront and we have to worry about supplies. And we have to worry about, there's always that. We always have to worry about that stuff. But this new age is bringing new stuff for us to worry about. And I'm always very serious about what we do. The people listening to this, what we do is we actually instruct the next generation. This is where they get all the information about how to behave and how to treat each other in society. School too, home, yes. But this is really what we're doing in our third space. So the onus is on us to have the stomach, but that's easy for me to say.
But I think I hear you. You're right, and you're on a different type of front line because you have people that are coming to you that want, but then get overwhelmed, and so you're experiencing that a lot. And I think that it's so valid to be like, do people have the stomach? Well, maybe not everybody, and maybe right this year. But what I can say is that in the clear instruction of and the clear matter of factness is we can say sometimes, and a lot of times what we've noticed at our camp is that campers, particularly boys, won't listen to some of our female staff members. This is what we are asking from our male staff members. These are the sentences like, hey, when somebody's talking, it's important that you listen and that you have this person's back. And I think this is something that we do that is not part. I think sometimes we look at equity and diversity and inclusion and we look at it actually outside of our parameters of what we do naturally at camp. We teach people how to address a whole audience, but we also teach our staff when you're in an audience with kids, we call it like zone defense in basketball. Whoever you're around, you're going to make sure that they're paying attention and you help them get their focus. We're just adding on right now a little piece that sometimes when there's a female staff talking, we've noticed that the voices go up. It's important that we role model how do we support each other, and we're just bringing in that information. But I think that sometimes when we look at these subjects, we think we have to tackle all of it at once, and for me, this is not possible, because the more we do the work, it's another layer of like, oh, now we can do this better, and then it's another layer. But let's not try to get down to layer 7. Let's just look at layer 1. And I do think that a lot of the times camp directors, from the camp directors I speak to, they really feel like they have to have all the answers, figure out how they're going to present it to their staff perfectly, have the program, have the posters, have the pins. And I'm like, that is a lot. Why don't we just talk to our staff about how we want to make camp feel a little bit better for everybody when it comes to absorbing some of the patriarchal norms that we have, that we are aware of? How can we make subtle shifts that are going to make big differences? And let's play the long game. We're not going to fix sexism right now, but let's role model gently. And it is the sneaking the mushrooms into the spaghetti sauce. Like we're gonna just put it in. We're not going to talk about it. We're not having big sessions with our campers about it. We're just putting it in, and we're going to see a difference in 5 years if we keep on this mission. But I think motivation is sometimes becomes a factor because we feel it so much. But let's start at something that's manageable. But let's not do it together. Bring your staff in. And this is a group that's motivated by this, and we know that this generation, they're motivated by 2 things: being seen and heard, and working towards something that is of value to them. Like this is very important to this generation. Like we can, for lack of a better word, capitalize on that. That's a bad word to use right in this context, but we can.
It always comes back to capitalism.
Capitalism, yes. This is another podcast.
Which we will put on shortly after How Do You Make More Money as your camp, so you can sustain this business and keep going. Yeah.
Oh man. I think the future of this is going to be really interesting. I mean, I think this is, I don't want to wrap this up into all diversity issues as far as like race and ability, but like, I think it just comes down to, I don't know, Gabs, I'm of 2 minds. Like on one hand, I'm like, yeah, we don't have to do it all in one day because we can't. But on the other hand, if we don't like really attack this problem and like wave flags every time it comes up, be very serious about it, we can't take the first step. The first step is shaking. Don't actually physically shake the children, everyone, but physically, no, we don't physically, metaphorically shaking the children and being like, okay, you've received bad information. This is the new information. Like that is also part of the instruction, like making a shift from the outside world to here. At least that's the way that we do it. I don't know if everyone has to do it that way, but I think I work with a lot of camps that they just want to, when it comes to diversity, they're like, well, we have lotion in the health center for the Black kids. And it's like, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, and more like, tell me more about that. Tell me, what do you tell other people about that? Is that part of the instruction that has to weave itself in? It just can't be like a Band-Aid you put on and then you'd be like, I'm done.
Yes. No, this is, no,
Am
you're
100.
Fair?
Am I being fair?
No,
Yes.
no, you're 100% right.
Okay.
I think sometimes people, I think there was once a time when I thought that the best way to get my staff to understand about microaggressions was for me to convince them that microaggressions happen. And I had a failed attempt. I couldn't get 100%. I could always sense that some people had this feeling, well, it's not that bad, or I could sense it. And I had a very abrupt awakening, which was a very helpful awakening, which is, it is not my job to convince people that microaggressions happen within my organization. It is my job to say microaggressions happen, and that is a fact. I'm not here to convince you of it. It happens. and this is what we will tolerate and this is what we won't tolerate. And I think that when we are talking to staff, it's the same as safety. We wear life jackets. This is not up for debate whether you're safe or not. When we go on the body of water in a boat, we're all wearing life jackets. We're not having that conversation. And I think maybe that's the stomach you're talking about, Chris. Camp directors do need to have that stance. The patriarchy, it exists. Sexism exists. We are not impervious to this. As a team, we are going to address some of these things moving, forward. But I'd love to hear from you. What are some things that you would like to try to do to make this space safer? Blah blah blah. But I know you're right. There is a firmness that needs to happen. It can't just be we have sunscreen and we're doing these other. No, that's not the approach. You're right.
And we do. Camp is very structured. And we do have absolutes all of the time.
Yep.
So to say, well, we can't just have absolutes, or it's too much to add another absolute. It's like we have 70 absolutes already. 74 isn't.
It's barely a percentage of the whole thing. Yeah. I agree.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I mean, like when camps are like, well, I don't know how we're going to teach staff to. I'm like, it's already part of your program. Teaching kids how to listen is already part of your staff training. Teaching kids to be kind to one another, including staff, is already part of your staff training. It is important to acknowledge disparities in this area. It's not in your 1 hour EDI session and then we forget about it. Like it's already there. And I think that's where people overcomplicate it. That's where people lose motivation. They're like, how do I do it all? You look for the opportunities, but you do start with saying, this is a safety matter. This is an inclusion matter.
Yeah, it's a safety matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love that. It's a safety matter. You have to listen to everyone on staff. You have to listen to everyone on staff. And that has to be communicated to the children. And if the children are not listening to everyone on staff, then that's a 5-alarm fire because it's actually a safety issue.
Yes.
Which is really clear because when you bring things to safety issues for camp directors, they're like, oh my God, they get the bucket brigade, they're upset. So if you're a camp director listening to this, like gender equity is a safety issue at your camp. So that get the ladders and get out there and do whatever you need to do because this is super important. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I want to say I think a lot of this resistance is just because it's like you said, Gabs, people want to be convinced that it's happening, right? Because if you are sitting in a position of privilege, it's hard to see that these things are happening. I mean, I remember years ago, my white friends who now know better in a conversation said, oh, but Chris, you never really experienced racism, right? I'm like, well, I'm experiencing it right now. Here we are. For you to assume my experience just because I'm comfortable with you or I grew up around white people is extraordinary. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that the just getting people over the hump that, oh, this is a problem that we can address.
Right.
And it's like what I always want to tell people is like, okay, forget that. It's a problem. You have to accept it to move on. I mean, I don't want to end on a pessimist note here, but you know what my best friend said? Here in America, when the racial reckoning of 2020 happened, it took all of 2 years for them to start banning DEI programs in corporations and schools because when white people were asked to confront the realities that people of color live with every day, they couldn't do it for but 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they went back to being like, oh, it's not that big of a problem. That's what we're up against. I mean, that comes down to race, that comes down to ability, that comes down to gender and sexuality. It's always the hump.
It's not pessimistic. It's atrocious, and it's real. And we're there was an election, and that's real too. And so, but this is where camp directors have to make a decision. You have to make a decision on what you're going to accept at your camp or not, and you're going to have to be transparent about it. So I think this is the you're not being pessimistic, but all I'm saying is camp directors, you already have this in place. You just have to be explicit about it. But the buck does stop with you, and you are setting the tone, and that's scary and that's hard. And if you don't know how to do it, please hire Chris.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't know this was going to turn into a commercial, but I fully endorse that.
I think it's important to understand, like my organization, one of the best compliments we got once was when I said I have a marketing consultant, and they said, you know, your marketing's amazing. Why do you need a consultant? I just sat there and went, yes.
Just waited for them to catch up to that, to
Yeah.
what they just said.
I don't think they did, Chris. I don't
Yeah.
think they did. But
Oh, no.
but that being said, it is hard doing. We are creating little mini societies. When you can, get a consultant. When you can't, join a group of people that have shared values that want to do these things and want to problem solve. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
A great point to end us on. Thanks, Gabz.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I appreciate the conversation. I think we correct it. I don't think we are anywhere close to having talked about it enough. So we'll come
Never.
back.
Yeah.
Welcome. That means we're moving on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
Gab, great to have you back on the show because I always love your tools. What do you got for us today?
What I have is, I call her Sally, but it's a high doc, so HIDOCK. We have it, of course, in the show notes. It basically looks like, if you've ever watched Charlie's Angels, like the little console to talk to Charlie on, or Charlie talks to the angels on. And basically it's an AI doc. Once you buy it, it's the price goes up and down, but it's around $200. Once you buy it, the AI on it is free. You don't have to pay for it anymore. And it transcribes all of your calls. So right now I'm actually recording this one, and then it's going to create just notes for me afterwards. I've asked it to use emojis because that works for me. But basically it tracks the conversation, and it takes off all of the little chitter chatter. So if we were talking about my cat Jack, hey buddy, and what type of food he likes, that's not going to be involved in the minutes that it creates. And it's been wonderful for our team. We had a team meeting 2 weeks ago. It was in person. I had it on my computer, and we just talked, and it was able to isolate different voices. So it was able to say, Desbiens said this, was one of my teammates. Shani said that. Chris, who wasn't there, but I'll imagine he was, we're going to be chatting with Chris next week at this date. So it tracks all of these things down. And then if you did want to pay for a subscription, you could, to get fine tune your messages. But I found I haven't needed it. So it has been fantastic. I love it very much. Best friend. Sally and I are best friends.
That's great. Thank you so much. Chris.
So I have something I'm really excited about. I'm going to recommend this book, which I'm holding up. It's called The Book of Shadows. And it caught my eye because it's very cryptically says The Book of Shadows. And then it feels nice. It's very velvety. I don't know if it's very velvety. And what is The Book of Shadows? No, it's not an arcane grimoire of spells. What it is basically is just pictures from the 1900s, which all have the same mistake in them. And that is that the shadow of the person taking the picture is in the picture.
Right.
So there's just pages and pages. I can hold this up. I don't know if you guys are going to see this. It's just pages of pictures, right?
Yeah.
Where and it's a picture of people's weddings, people's kids, but
I love it.
There's just this very imposing shadow, which when you line it all up, just makes it look really creepy.
Yep.
Right? As if there's someone just waiting. And I said before the call, I love when things are I love liminality. I love when things are on the border of being one thing or another. And this is just a simple mistake that we've all made. But when you string it together like this, it feels creepy. This book has been an inspiration to me to create all sorts of arts and crafts stuff and programming for kids. So I'll just see where that takes you. The idea that something so common, when strung together with those other common occurrences, evokes a different feel or sensation. I love that stuff. So The Book of Shadows, edited by Jeffrey Frankel, but Frankel is spelled strangely, and not the way you think. And it will be in the show notes. Yeah, it's not spelled the way you think.
It's so cool. And how cool would it be in like a staff lounge or in your health center, or like, it's just such a fun, just lookbook. So
it's so much fun. You go through every page, and every single page, you're like, oh my gosh, it just looks so ominous. And I can't get enough. So.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Excellent. Okay, so mine is a podcast. It's called Fixable with Ann and Francis. It's put out by TED. It includes Ann and Francis, who do, it's kind of like work advice, like solving personnel problems with work advice. And it's been really interesting. There's tons of campy stuff. Anna and Francis are married, but they have very different perspectives on things, which makes it, of course, a fun conversation to hear how they both look at things differently. And in particular, one of the last two or three episodes have been, and we're recording this in the middle of November 2024. So around that time, there's been two episodes in a row on creating an atmosphere that works for people who are neurodiverse at work. They brought on a woman who's written a book, which that book will become one of my tools of the week. But just look for Fixable with Francis, and you can kind of look by topic. Like, is this happening at our camp? That's the one I want to listen to. Francis is a university professor and's been like major corporate consultant kind of person, systems person. But fascinating, really great discussions. I look forward to them. It's one of those podcasts that I have to be in the right place for because I need to take notes and all those things. So Fixable on from TED, and the hosts, their names are Ann and Francis. I think it's in the title, Fixable with Ann and Francis, but they are a great option and really great listen. Lots to
Nice.
apply. Yeah.
Very good.
Right on. Okay, I want to take a second and thank you, Gabz, for joining us. If people have follow-up, how can they get in touch?
Well, thanks for having me. I missed you too, so it's nice for me
Yeah.
to pop in when I can. So thanks for the invite. You can get in touch with me at info@waro.com, or you can check out where I work at waro.com, uareau.com.
Excellent. We're super grateful to have you. Chris?
I am on Friendster and MySpace, so just build a time machine, go back to the late 90s, and you can find me there. If you don't have that mastery of physics, you can email me, chris@planetchris.net. Interested in what I look like and what I'm up to? Well, then simply go to Instagram @planetchris1.
Great. Thank you. And if you're listening or watching and you have topic suggestions or feedback for us, you can reach out to us at travis@gocamp.pro. Before I say thank you to both of you, I'm going to take just a second and highlight another great Go Camp Pro podcast called Camp Code, which is Gab's podcast. Gab, what have been some of your favorite moments of the season so far?
Some of the favorite moments is that we've had a couple of guests on so far, and as per usual, I always learn with Beth and Ruby, and having our guests on has just brought in some different insight. And we're looking at, don't worry, everybody, some statistics, but it's like mild numbers. But as usual, it's just I'm always learning, and our guests have been pretty darn awesome.
Excellent.
Strong language.
Thank
As
you.
one of those guests, I will take that with joy.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's great. I hope that you will all go to your podcast app and search for Camp Code, or go to our YouTube channel and search for the Camp Code episodes that are all in both of those places. Thank you, Chris and Gabz, for a great conversation. And thanks for the evening, friends.
The CampHacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, if you've gotten even one good idea from a Go Camp Pro podcast, a masterclass, from the Summer Camp Pros group on Facebook, at a conference, or wherever else, we ask that you give credit where credit is due. That way, we can encourage camp pros to keep freely sharing their brilliant ideas and make the camp industry better. Thanks very much.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.